In this video, Timmy's going to show you how to insert a watermark in a Google Doc. So if you have a Google Doc in Google Docs and you want to insert a watermark into it so that there's an image behind the text showing that it's a draft or your logo or anything like that, if you want to insert anything as a watermark into your Google Doc, in this video, Timmy's going to show you how. So if you already have an image that you want to use as your watermark, that's great. But if you don't worry, Timmy's got a solution Timmy will show you in a minute that allows you to quite easily create a watermark. But if you already have an image you want to add behind the text into your Google Doc to be your watermark, you just need to open up your Google Doc like this, and you need to put the cursor above all the text. So click here and make sure the cursor is before any of the text in the document, right at the top of the page, and then you just need to insert an image the way you normally do. So you click on Insert and hover over Image, and now you can choose Upload from Computer. So if you do that, you'll be able to upload it from your computer, or you can get it many different ways. Timmy's just going to choose Google Drive because there's an image in Timmy's Google Drive that Timmy wants to use. So Timmy's just going to choose this image down here. You can do this however you want. You can upload it or you can pull it from Google Photos or Google Drive, and it doesn't really matter what your image looks like, but regardless of how it is, you just need to put the image before any of the text here. So this is now the top of the Google Doc and it's just the image and all the text is below it. But obviously that's not really good for a watermark. You want it to be behind the text. So to put the image behind the text and have a watermark behind the text, you just need to click on it like this so that it's selected. And then down at the bottom here, you'll see these two options, behind text and in front of text. So obviously in front of text would put it above the text, so you wouldn't really want to do that because it would cover the text. But if you choose behind text, now the text is above the image. So you've got your text above your image, which is your watermark, and that's all good. But as you can see, this image isn't too great for a watermark because it's got a lot in it and it's kind of hard to read the text. So if your image is a bit like this and it's making it kind of hard to read the text now that the watermark is there, what you can actually do is when it's selected like this, just click on Image Options here and then click on Adjustments. And now you'll be able to adjust this transparency slider. So if you slide this to about halfway, you'll see the image has suddenly sort of started to fade away into the background, and it's made the text quite a bit easier to read. So you could slide it down even more if you want, so it's quite faint. So maybe if that might be good depending on your image, and then you can just close this box. So now the image is kind of faintly in the background as a watermark, but it's not fully in the way, making it kind of hard to read the text. So that's really cool, and that's all there is to it if you already have an image you want to use as your watermark. But if you don't, and you don't really know what you can put there, you can actually use a cool thing called Google Drawings to create your own watermark. So if you go over to Google Drive, drive.google.com, and then click on New and hover over More, and then click on Google Drawings, it will create a new Google drawing for you. And the first thing you'll need to do is set the drawing to the correct size to fit in your Google Doc. So if you click on File here, and then Page Setup, and click on Standard and click on Custom, you'll now be able to choose the dimensions of the drawing. And by default, Google Doc pages are 8.5 by 11 inches. So if you made your drawing 8.5 by 11 inches, it would then be the same shape and size as the Google Doc, so it would fit on there perfectly. But you do have to keep in mind that by default, Google Docs also have a 1-inch margin around the whole thing. So if you keep that in mind, you'll actually want to make your drawing 10.5 by 13 inches so that it will fit inside the margin. So Timmy's going to enter in 10.5 here and then 13 here and then click on Apply. And now the drawing will be the perfect shape and size to fit within the margin of your Google Doc. But if you've changed the dimensions of your Google Doc, so you've changed the page size or page shape, or you've changed the margin, you'll actually need to enter a different number. So if you go over to your Google Doc and click on File and scroll down here and click on Page Setup inside the Google Doc, you'll need to look at the paper size here. So Timmy's is 8.5 by 11 inches because Timmy hasn't changed it. But if yours was different, it would say something different here. And then you'll also need to look at the margins here, which is all just 1 because Timmy's left it at default, but maybe you might have a 2-inch margin or something. So you'll need to look at this and work out based on the paper size and the margin around the paper size, what shape drawing you'll need to create. So once you've looked at that, you can come back here and enter those numbers in here. But now that you've finally created and set up the size of your drawing, you can actually start putting stuff into the watermark. So if you wanted to add some text into the watermark, you could click on this text box, drag a text box, and maybe Timmy will just type watermark. And then because that's quite small, you might want to make it a lot bigger. And you could make it centered. You could bold it if you want, you could change the font. You can do all these different things to your watermark. It's fairly self-explanatory, like Google Slides if you've ever used that. And it's even quite similar to Google Docs. So you can just move it around, or you can use this circle to tilt it a bit and drag it down here. And Timmy's not going to get into it too deeply because it's fairly self-explanatory, but that gives you a bit of an idea of what you can do. And you could also add an image if you want by clicking here. And then from Drive, or you could upload from your computer, but Timmy's just going to do it from Drive. And Timmy will add this picture in here. And then you could right click on it and click on copy and click on paste if you want to have 2 of them. You could put one down here. So you could probably create a nicer looking watermark than this and something that's more useful than this, but Timmy's just doing it as a quick example. And so once you've created your watermark like this, you'll probably want to make it a bit faded like Timmy did with the other image before, so that it sort of fades into the background and the text can be easily read over it. So for example, with this black text here, when there's black text on the document, the letters that go over this text would be pretty much unreadable. So you'll need to highlight all the text like this, and then just click on the color here and change the color to something lighter like this. And now it's sort of faded into the background because it's a nice lighter color, and the text that's darker will still be able to be easily read over the top of it. So that's what you can do with text in your watermark. And you'll also want to make the images a bit faded probably. So if you click on each image and then click on Format Options, just like Timmy did in the Google Doc, you can then click on Adjustments and lower the transparency a bit, so maybe 50%, and Timmy will do that to the other one as well. And now it's all sort of faded away a bit, so when we add it below the text, the text will still be easily readable, but the watermark is still there and you can still see it. So now that we've finished with the watermark, you'll just need to give it a title, so just something that makes sense. And now you can go back to your Google Doc and put it in there. So if you click back to your Google Doc, you need to make sure the cursor is at the top of the page again, like Timmy did before. And now you need to come up and click on Insert, but instead of Image this time, you need to hover over Drawing, and then click on From Drive, and the drawing you just created should be somewhere in your drive, and here it is. So if you have a lot of other drawings, there'll be a whole lot here, but the most recent one that we just created should be at the top of the list, which it is. So then you can just double click on it to select it. And now it will ask you if you want to link to source or insert unlinked. And Timmy would recommend going with link to source because that means you can then quite easily go back and edit the watermark if you want to in the future, and it will sort of sync back into the Google Doc rather than having to remove it and re-add it. So Timmy's going to leave it set to link to source and then click insert. And then you'll see, just like the image Timmy inserted before, the watermark is now at the top of the page like this, and it's pushed all the text down, but you can do the exact same thing as with an image. So you can just click on it so it's selected, and then click on Behind Text, and now the watermark we just created in Google Drawings is behind the text in the document. So that's really cool, and that's all there is to it. And if you have a document with multiple pages, like this one here, you will need to just go through and add it to every page. So you'll see we're at the top page now, and you just need to click on Insert, and then you can insert your drawing or image, just like how Timmy showed before. And then put it behind the text, and you just need to do that for every page you want the watermark on. So if you want this watermark on every page, you come down to the second page and do the same thing. And you could also do it on the third page or any number of pages you have, so you can just keep adding it to different pages, or you could have it only on the first page if you want. So that's really cool, and that's all there is to adding a watermark to a Google Doc. So hopefully you found this video helpful. Not too long ago, this was actually quite hard because Google Docs didn't have the ability to put an image behind text. So you had to add everything into the drawing and then add the whole drawing with the text included in the drawing into the Google Doc, which was kind of a bit of a mess and made things really difficult. But thankfully now it's really quite easy now that you can insert images behind the text. So that's really cool, and if you found this video helpful, please click on the thumbs up button down below. And if you want to see more videos like this, click on the subscribe button down below and click on the little bell icon next to the subscribe button to be notified every time Timmy makes a new video. So that's really cool, and Timmy will see you in the next video.